All right, so we're into September now and getting close to really my favorite time of the year, which is fall, and the best weather and the most fun time to go to a car show. And can't discount the fact it's Halloween time of the year. It's really my favorite time of the year. Um, just overall good time. But I got something I want to share with you, a little Anderson, South Carolina ghost story, and something that kind of I have an interest in. That I have always had an interest in the paranormal and hauntings, and but I'm a car person, so I like anything to do, any kind of story to do with a haunted car. It always intrigues me. You have, the book Christine, and then the other book about From a Buick 8, it has to do with a haunted car. But what I want to talk to you a little bit about tonight was a personal experience with a car coming home one night, and also a story about somewhere on Highway 81 in Anderson, somewhere between where we used to have the cruise-ins at McDonald's, which is where my story will come from here shortly, and the Orion Rug plant. At a certain time of night, you're supposed to be able to see a ghost car. Now, this story was passed down to me from my dad, and a friend of his told him this story, and the guy swears by it. I have done a little research to see if there's any other experiences from anyone. I haven't been able to find anything, so if you have anything or any other Anderson folklore, I would be interested to hear it. One common thing here in Anderson is the Crybaby Bridge story, and that story, I haven't done it myself or tried whatever it is about hearing the baby cry and all that, but it's a good story, and one day I'd like to do that. But I did do a video the other day of drive through Ebenezer Cemetery, and that's supposed to be a haunted spot. It's got graves back there from the 1700s. But my story that I have about a ghost car, and I've heard similar stories like this from other people in other situations that, for whatever reason, it might have kept them out of harm's way. But I was in this car, you see behind me, my hot rod Monte Carlo, very loud car, not quiet by any stretch of the imagination. And I can't remember if this was before or after I had the full exhaust put on it. This has been several years ago. The last year of the cruise-in was 19 at McDonald's, and this happened within a couple of years before that. So I'm gonna say it's probably 4 or 5 years ago when this happened. If you've ever been at the McDonald's cruise-in, there's a road that runs behind it, and I have to tell you all the details to make the story make any sense. Years ago when we was kids, I would go the long way out 81, and kind of cross paths where the other story I just mentioned come from. But there's a back way to my house, and it's a lot faster. So you go out of the Jockey Lot, turn by the Holiday Inn, take a left, go around a sharp curve, immediately take a right about 200 yards up the hill, and you pass a printing plant, and that's a little narrow, curvy road. Well, I turned down this road, and I was way on down the turn, and I noticed a car. I thought I seen a car turn in on the road, and I noticed from a distance, I'm pretty good with new headlights, that it looked like a Dodge Challenger. And it was coming at a very high rate of speed. So I slowed down because cops have known to use a lot of different patrol cars, and the speed limit's only 35 miles an hour on this particular road. So, of course, all my lights and stuff work on this race car here. I call it a race car. It's a street car, but it's set up like a race car. And of course, it's very loud. And like I said, I can't remember if this was before or after the full exhaust, but this was definitely after the radio. I had a radio in the car. So I was fidgeting with my phone playing the radio, but I started to get a sense of dread come over me that this car was either a patrolman that quite possibly might pull me over just to check me out, because I do have tires on the back that look like race tires, but they're not. But it was just overall, and then I got very anxious because this car got literally right on my bumper. And in the mirror, it looked like a Dodge Challenger. It was not a Charger. And I'm pretty confident that the car, or whatever it was imitating a Dodge Challenger, a new Challenger. We got to about a half a mile from the stop sign at Old US Highway 29, which has a lot of tales in itself. But this is a cut-through road. Ironically, this same road I was on, once I go through the stop sign, it widens, the road widens, and it's, I can't remember the name of the road, but it's right past the jockey lot to the left. And there actually used to be a drag strip on this road. And about the time I took my mind off of the car behind me is where the entryway of that track was. Now, if you know this road, there's one more road to the left between the old Lakeside Dragway. I actually have an old girlfriend of mine used to live on that road years ago, and then years ago when I was I was like 13. And a friend of mine, current friend of mine, lives on that road today. But there's a road to the left. I very vividly recall that we were past that road, the last place to turn. There's no more houses or anything of that nature until you get to the very end. There's a road that bears off where they sell like mulch and stuff right at the stop sign, but there is no road in between, and that dang car was still right on my bumper. I looked down away from my mirrors and took my mind off of the situation for just a split second. Again, I was very anxious because the headlights were right in my face. My mirrors on the side of the car are chrome and they're not tinted. My windows were down, so they were blinding me. I had my rear view mirror turned to night vision to try and block some of this situation. My wife at the time was in the car as well. And she kept her eye on this car. She also seen me fidget with something and took her eyes off just for a split second. But less time than I had. In the time it took to transpire, I looked up in my mirror expecting to be blinded again, and the headlights had vanished. Okay? Most 99% of new cars, you can't turn the headlights off. They have running lights. So even if they had turned the lights off to try to be silly, it would still had running lights, or they cut the ignition off on the car, which is highly unusual. Well, it's been crazy. As dark as this area is, it'd be easy to run off the road. There's ditches on both sides. So that's my story of the Anderson ghost car, my own personal story. I don't know still to this day what happened on the road that night. I do know we had two witnesses, me and her, And she looked at me with this startled look on her face and stumbling for words when this situation happened. So the headlights disappeared, and for whatever reason, I still can't explain where that car disappeared to or if it was even there. I have a wonder if, for whatever reason, that car being on my bumper kept me slowed down enough to keep me from getting in a wreck somewhere on the way home. That's the only thing that I can explain why this would have happened. I still to this day do not believe that that car turned, done a 180 or whipped the car around or cut the ignition switch off. I just don't believe that happened. For whatever reason, I wanted to gas the throttle and get away from this car because he was ticking me off at his headlights. But me thinking it could have been law enforcement kept my speedometer at 35, and it kept me slowed down for whatever reason. As I took my mind off and looked back up, the car was gone. I have heard a similar situation of this, and it probably kept the person out of an accident, and the car was in front of, not behind, but the car vanished where there were no roads to turn, and then they were in an accident. They took their mind off, and the car was gone. Some things in life we just can't explain. I eat stuff like that up because I have an interest in it, but I was in shock that night because of what I realized had just happened. It was like, what I just saw, there's no way it could have happened, but it happened. And thought you might enjoy that story. If you have any similar experiences, I'd love to hear them. And like I said, I think sometimes things like that can happen to keep us out of trouble. It could be some type of divine intervention to keep us safe. It just ain't our time to go. And, like I said, us keeping slowed down just enough could have kept me out of a head-on. Just on 29, somebody could have done what I did, looked down, took their eyes off the road, and they crossed the center line. And had I been there, we could have hit. Fortunately, I kept slowed down enough that the situation is what it is. So anyway, it is what it is. I just thought you might find that story interesting. I still find it pretty interesting to this day. It's also a great story to tell. I'm glad that it happened. It was quite an experience to see that happen in real time and to be able to tell about it. So anyway, if you have any similar experiences, let me know. If you have any information on this other Anderson ghost car on Highway 81 that you may have heard about, I'd like to hear it. Any Crybaby Bridge Anderson stories, I'd love to hear those. And any other Anderson, South Carolina folklore stories, haunted roads, or anything like that, I'd like to hear those as well. It's almost Halloween. Hope it's cooling off where you're at. Thanks for watching, and we will see y'all next time.